Okay, let's get right into this because this is an important video. Among many videos we've done, this one kind of ranks a bit higher. What this video is about is the combination of D.O.G.E, Department of Governmental Efficiency, Elon Musk through President Trump, specifically with OIG of the SSA. Now, a lot of you are wondering, do they ever actually go after individuals? Do they prosecute people for benefit fraud, benefit abuse, benefit waste? And the correct answer is yes, they do. Now, if we go back to the executive order basically created by President Trump, which was on the 20th of January, what happened was DOGE was created and they began putting people into the Social Security Administration to go ahead and assist with the fraud/waste review. Going along with that, I looked up essentially what inside the OIG happened when it came to prosecuting beneficiaries, people who basically were receiving benefits. Now, some of these people who were receiving benefits because they were supposed to be receiving benefits, and some of these people were receiving benefits pretty much because they were stealing it from somebody else. What I want to go through with you and explain here is that this is a joint effort between OIG, the Office of Inspector General through the SSA, plus DOGE. And these two, especially with the new commissioner that's now being placed in, who came into existence just basically a couple days ago, this new commissioner who is, with the fraud department, and they don't even have a photo up on Wikipedia yet of him. This individual basically has been working aggressively, heavily, and directly with the DOGE team. As a result, you're going to see that some of these were just at the beginning of DOGE's creation, and then they lead into those individuals who are being prosecuted and studied by OIG and DOGE going into the future. What I need you to understand is that these people did something wrong. So you shouldn't be super afraid, super fearful about being one of these individuals. However, I am noticing a tightening of the benefits when it comes to the regulations and policies that the SSA is using to decide if somebody is disabled. They just released in the emergency notices, basically, new musculoskeletal-based listing 1.0 details. I'm going to be going through those with you over the next couple of days. Leland Dudek. Wow. Wait a minute. That's somebody took the new commissioner's name there. That is the new commissioner's name right there. $100. Thank you. I don't know if that's him or somebody else, probably somebody else, but that's absolutely amazing. Thank you for the mega donation. I really, really appreciate that. That's absolutely incredible. Thank you. That's huge. Wow. Very, very big. So we're going to be going through specifically, so everybody's aware what's happening at the Office of Inspector General, who has also been working with DOGE to make sure your benefits are safe. I know some of you absolutely hate, and I use that word because it seems that strong, Elon Musk through the DOGE. I know you guys, some of you have the same feeling about Donald Trump. Some of you really love Donald Trump. I'm going to give this to you as information-wise from a middle stance, somebody who lives in the industry of Social Security benefits, who will basically give you kind of the middle ground as to what I'm seeing. Let's get right to it. St. Louis woman sentenced for stealing dead grandmother's government benefits. Okay. January 21st, 2025, the day after DOGE was created by executive order. Here we go. U.S. Attorney's Office, Eastern District of Missouri. U.S. District Judge Sarah E. Pitlick on Tuesday ordered a woman who stole government benefits intended for her dead grandmother to repay the money and sentenced her to 5 years of probation and 40 hours of community service. Now remember, I want you to study with this, specifically the punishments that they give people. The punishments don't tend to be very aggressive. However, I have noticed over time, they're getting more and more aggressive with potential jail time. Shamari Jackson, 33 of St. Louis, used her grandmother's debit card to access $13,047 in Social Security benefits that continued to be paid by direct deposit into her grandmother's account after her death was not properly reported to the Social Security Administration. Jackson also used a $1,200 COVID-19 related stimulus payment intended for her grandmother. Her guilty plea says Jackson pleaded guilty in U.S. District Court in St. Louis to one felony count of theft of government money. This case was investigated by the Social Security Administration of Inspector General. Assistant U.S. Attorney Diane Clark prosecuted the case. So this was just at the very beginning of when DOGE was being created. I want you to see this because I want you to realize that OIG has always been working on this in the background. All right, let's get to the next one real quick. Specifically, former professional basketball player sentenced for pandemic loan fraud. Okay, we're going to go through this one now. This one is January 27th, 2025. So D.O.G.E is starting to get ramped up at this point. All right, U.S. Attorney's Office, Eastern District of Missouri. U.S. District Judge Rodney W. Sipple on Monday sentenced a former professional basketball player to 5 years of probation, 200 hours of community service, and $308,354 in restitution for pandemic loan fraud. You'll notice there wasn't any jail time in that. Focus on that because that's important here. All right. Lorenzo Gordon, now 41, fraudulently applied for 2 loans from the Paycheck Protection Program and 3 from the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program in 2020. Both programs were intended to help businesses and their employees during the COVID-19 pandemic. Gordon fraudulently applied for loans in the name of 3 companies, Logo Fitness LLC, Elite 50 Basketball Training LLC, and Elite Health Fitness Company LLC. Gordon received $107,074 in PPP loans and $165,700 in EIDL loans and advances. The restitution total includes fees and interest. Gordon, quote, took advantage of these programs for his personal gain despite suffering no such economic injury, harming those who truly needed those funds, Assistant U.S. Attorney Diane Clark wrote in a sentencing memo. Gordon pleaded guilty in September in U.S. District Court in St. Louis to 1 felony count of theft of government money. The Internal Revenue Service, IRS, and the Social Security Administration Office of Inspector General investigated the case. Assistant U.S. Attorney Diane Clark prosecuted the case. All right, so that is a person who basically took fraud from the government when it comes to COVID stimulus. I threw that one in there because I want you to think about this as they're talking about this future potential, stimulus check that could go anywhere from $0, like they don't pay it, to $5,000. Although right now, to be fair, what I think it's leaning towards is it'll be somewhere between $500 and $1,500. Again, real quick, for the $100, the Leland Dudek, which I doubt it's him, but thank you for the $100 donation. That's absolutely incredible and amazing. I really, really appreciate that. That's incredible. Now, here's the next one from the Inspector General's office, and which is ironic too, that literally that amount of money came in, and it's specific and direct to what his office is basically in charge of. All right, so because not every video is that thing. We do videos on like what's in the listings, what's in the griddings, what's happening next, where All right, husband and wife sentenced for theft of deceased father's Social Security benefits. This is a very common theme. This is where a lot of fraud comes from. This is where a lot of waste comes from. And what you guys have to remember is that a lot of these people that steal this money, many of them never really get a chance to pay it back. So this is direct theft of what you paid in over your years and years that they're basically taking away from. Again, Office of Inspector General. The specific date is January 28th, 2025. All right, let's see. U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Kansas. A Kansas couple was sentenced to prison for illegally taking proceeds from a relative's Social Security and retirement benefits for years after his death. According to court documents, Lynn Ritter, 62, and Kirk Ritter, 62, they're 62, they should know better, of Overland Park pleaded guilty to wire fraud and theft of government funds. A federal judge sentenced Lynn Ritter to 12 months and 1 day in prison, and Kirk Ritter was sentenced to 7 months in prison. Now that's spicy because I don't know if you guys noticed that, but Lynn Ritter, the female, got a smaller sentence than Kirk Ritter. So she must have been more involved, but you tend to see, and I think they're trying to get better about this, but usually you see the male getting a worse sentence than the female. So let's see. Me, Grandmom Jean, howdy. Thank you for the $10 donation. I super appreciate it. That's awesome. Let me put a little heart on it. I truly appreciate all you do for the disabled. Thank you, Walter. Well, I really appreciate it too, because a lot of people get on me about like making videos and they're like, oh, it's so scary. But I'm giving you this info so that you can see specifically what's going on, so that where they're tightening up, what they're trying to change, where the direction of this whole program is going. Because if you don't have that, like, you are not prepared. Like, if you look at the difference between Social Security benefits now and Social Security benefits 20 years ago, 2 totally different programs. 2 totally different. And the biggest change was the culture of the SSA and how they applied the rules, because the rules have a lot of gray room to them. When they have a lot of gray room, 2 things happen. When they have gray room, the culture of actions defines more of the application of the law. And then number 2, you start to see higher level judges in, district court, circuit court, Supreme Court of the United States, sending orders down to the SSA saying, hey, you need to clean this up. This is not definitive enough. This is not specific enough. We need to have this more articulated. And that's literally what's happening right now. It's gotten to the point where it's just too open, and higher level judges above the SSA docket are pissed and sending down notices to the SSA administrative law judges saying, you need to clean this up. All right, let's keep reading. All right. The couple lived with Lynn's father in a single-family house in Overland Park, with Lynn acting as his caretaker. On October 23rd, 2022, Kirk Ritter contacted the Overland Park Police Department. He advised that his father-in-law was deceased and his body was in the residence. Officers found the body lying in the bed in a mummified state. It was later determined that the man died on or about July 1st, of 2016. You imagine that? So basically, the couple had a father. Wow, damn. And they mummified him from 2016 to 2022. I don't know what they were thinking with mummifying a person and handing him over to the police. That is a next level shit right there. But the bottom line is this. I mean, why wouldn't they just bury him and just say, oh, yeah, we thought we reported it? That is weird. Imagine mummifying somebody, putting them in a bedroom, and then telling the police basically 6 years later that he's hanging out in his bedroom. Like, how do you... America, we need to talk. All right. The father had been receiving monthly Social Security and retirement pension payments as direct deposit to his bank account. After July 2016, $68,637 in pension payments and $147,429 in Social Security payments were deposited into the bank account. Lynn and Kirk Ritter did not report the death and instead, without authority, wrote checks on the deceased account and transferred funds into their bank accounts to use for their own personal benefit. The Ritters paid the funds back during the prosecution. Okay, that's interesting. So they paid it all back during the prosecution. So they really didn't want to go to jail. Mark Underwood, regional director of the U.S. Department of Labor's Employee Benefits Social Security Administration's Kansas City's regional office said, quote, these sentencings show the Labor Department is committed to ensuring that justice is served for those who steal from the retirement plans. The Overland Park Police Department, Social Security Administration, the Office of the Inspector General, and the U.S. Department of Labor investigated this claim. That is crazy. Can you imagine mummifying a person in 2016, then handing them over to the police in 2022? Like, can you imagine what D.O.G.E. was thinking when they sat down to start studying what was going on? Can you imagine? Just let it sink into the brain. All the crazy shit that D.O.G.E. was starting to read about and see and understand what was going on. They must have been like, holy crap. Americans have some bad eBayers in here. Let's keep rocking through this thing. Office of Inspector General. Delaware County man indicted on Social Security fraud charges January 29th, 2025. So 9 days after D.O.G.E. was created, this prosecution was handed down. And keep in mind, this is the getting the thing ramped and loaded for D.O.G.E. And then we're going to talk about after this other types of claims that they're likely to go ahead and prosecute in the future based on what they're learning inside the SSA. All right, January 29th, 2025, U.S. Attorney's Office of Northern District of New York. Okay, Syracuse. Brian Gill, age 59 of Andes, I'm not sure, you let me know, New York, had indicted for Social Security fraud. The charge relates to Gill's concealment of work activity at a tree service company he owned and operated while he was obtaining disability benefits from the Social Security Administration. Yeah, guys, just as a side note, when you own and do a business as a side gig while you're disabled, this stuff does tend to pop up. They do tend to catch these people. I mean, and all it takes is one pissed off person, I'm not going to say the name Karen, who just goes ahead and takes photos of you and reports it. And then all of a sudden, boom, they're all over it. So just be aware they kind of grab this stuff, especially tree business stuff where you go on other people's properties and you could be pissing off neighbors. They're going to grab you with this stuff. The announcement was made by United States Attorney Carla B. Friedman and Amy Connolly, special agent in charge of the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General, New York Field Office. So we all know Amy Connolly. We know that name going back. All right. The Social Security fraud charge carries a maximum term of 5 years in federal prison. So it's not that bad. I mean, it's not like, it's not 15 years, 20 years. We're not talking about an actual death situation, but Social Security fraud carries a maximum term of 5 years in federal prison, a fine of up to $250,000, and a term of supervised release of up to 3 years. Gill could also be ordered to pay restitution to the Social Security Administration for the frauds fraudulently collected. A defendant's sentence is imposed by a judge based on the particular state of the defendant is. Hold on. Let me read this again. A defendant's sentence is imposed by a judge based on the particular statute the defendant is charged with violating, the U.S. sentencing guidelines, and other factors. All right. So bottom line is they've got some options here. I mean, they could throw the book at him, 5 years, $250,000. maybe supervised release of 3 years, right? The charges in the indictment are merely accusations. The defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty. The case is being investigated by the Social Security Administration's Office of the Inspector General as being prosecuted by Special Assistant United States Attorney Paul Tuck. All right, so bottom line is this one doesn't have, because we're starting to get like to the recent to the current, because today is February 22nd and this is January 29th. So they're still figuring out exactly what they're going to be doing with charging this particular individual, with how they're going to, go forth and what they're going to go after. But still, I mean, just to be clear here, I mean, that is a whopper. You know what I mean? Imagine owning a tree business and having to go to federal prison for 5 years. That's pretty rough. You know what I mean? All right, next one. This is from the Office of Inspector General. This is January 31st, 2025. Grove man sentenced after stealing identity of deceased friend. You know what's odd? I always expect to see more individuals in the OIG hot sheets that basically are, dealers, right? And stealing identities and stuff like that. When it comes to, but I never really see a lot of those in the OIG hot sheets, but I see it all the time working with the homeless. They're potential dealers are stealing their identity, taking out loans in their name. I just don't see them a lot in the OIG hot sheets, which I always thought was weird. And part of me thinks they're just getting, arrested at the lower levels, but I don't know. Maybe OIG needs to take a little bit more of a look at that, because there's a lot of low income homeless people who are getting screwed over by people who drive C300. So I'm just giving you a heads up. That's an issue. Grove man sentenced after stealing identity of deceased friend, January 31st, 2025. So we're at the end of January now. U.S. Attorney's Office, Northern District of Oklahoma. Today, U.S. District Judge John F. Hale, or H-E-I-L, Heel, I think it's Heel. The third, there's another third, I'm the third too. Walter the first passed away in a plane accident. Walter II was an aviation lawyer. Walter the third, disability attorney. Sentenced Terry Ross Killian, 43. Oh, look at that name, Terry Ross Killian. That is a movie name. Oh, if I had a villain, that would be cool. And the villain is Terry Ross Killian. That is a villain name. I hope he fights literally Iron Man 3 times. I'm ready for it. Terry Ross Killian, 43, for committing aggravated identity theft. Judge Hill ordered Killian to serve 24 months imprisonment, followed by 1 year of supervised release. Additionally, Judge Hill ordered Killian to pay $116,763 in restitution. 24 months, got 2 years of imprisonment on this one. In 2019, Killian obtained the identifiers of his deceased friend, Kelly Davis. Whoa. Okay, so his deceased friend, Kelly Davis, and began impersonating him. Killian set up several accounts in Davis's name and contacted the Social Security Administration, claiming to be Kelly Davis. Killian then fraudulently diverted the payments to himself. Killian will remain in custody pending transfer to the U.S. Bureau of Prisons. The Social Security Administration Office of Inspector General, Dallas, Kansas City Field Division investigated the case. Assistant U.S. Attorney George Jiang prosecuted the case. Killian, my friend, what are you doing, buddy? Wow. So, that guy stole the stuff, set up all the contact info, put stuff in somebody else's name. That was his supposed buddy and stole that. Remember too, SSA employees do this as well. They'll literally, create people and then, create children for them, or they'll find a dead person, create children for them. That's just wow. All right, so that one basically was at the end of January. Let's go on to the next one. The next one here is February 10th. Binghamton, I think it's Binghamton. Woman is sentenced to 18 months in prison for stealing a child's Social Security benefits, which is ironic because I know a lot of bad parents that would fall into that category, but bottom line is, let's just keep reading. Let's keep going. February 10th, 2025. Okay, so at this point, D.O.G.E. is up. They're rolling. They're having their employees inside the SSA. Let's keep rolling. Syracuse, New York. This is U.S. Attorney's Office, Northern District of New York. Loretta Washington, age 60, of Binghamton, New York, was sentenced to 18 months in prison. So she did something really bad for Social Security fraud. United States Attorney Carla B. Friedman and Amy Connolly, there's Amy Connolly again, special agent in charge of the Social Security Administration Office of Inspector General, New York Field Office, announced. As part of her prior, we see a lot of New York. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but New York, you got to clean that shit up, man. Come on now. As part of it is it's gotten way too expensive to live there, way too fast, so people are like desperate. So a part of that is the politicians. So politicians, you need to clean your shit up as well. As a part of his prior guilty plea, Washington admitted that she had applied for and was receiving Social Security benefits for a minor child. As the minor child's representative payee, A representative payee is a person of or organization selected by the SSA to receive benefits on behalf of a beneficiary who is unable to manage their payments. Okay. Now, you guys know what that is, right? So, one of the things I always think is weird when I see somebody's been adjudicated by the SSA's own doctor to not be able to handle their own benefits, but then they deny them for lack of medical severity for mental impairments. I always think that's such like a weird thing. Like, if they can't handle their own benefits, then that should be a clear indicator that they're also not able to handle, you know what I mean, like doing a job. Like, if they can't do their own, you know what I mean? And I guess you could say, well, they could still do a job where they're a Walmart greeter and whatever. But at the same time, we expect the Walmart greeter to be able to handle his financial affairs and use Cash App responsibly. I'm kidding, of course, about Cash App, but some people do. That's how they do it. All right, with that said, in September 2018, Broome County Department of Social Services removed the child from Washington's custody after the child, who was 4 years old at the time, was found walking on a road in the middle of the night. Ooh, that's no good. That's a class 5 no bueno. Washington never reported the change in custody to the Social Security Administration, and at one point lied to the Social Security Administration that the child was still in her custody. In total, Washington stole over $25,000 in Social Security benefits between October 2018 and November 2021. In addition to the 18-month term of imprisonment, Washington will serve a term of supervised release of 3 years. Washington was also ordered to pay restitution to the Social Security Administration. This case was investigated by the Social Security Administration Office of Inspector General and is being prosecuted by Special Assistant U.S. Attorney Paul J. Tuck. Now, look, this one, it's not a lot of money. It's basically over 25 grand, but that's not a lot of money. We see people who steal millions. That's not a lot of money, but she got prison time. I would imagine it's obviously because of the child situation. But I know a lot of people who are in this situation where they play this game where they'll literally say, hey, bottom line, right? And then the parents fight over who's going to get the benefits in the gig. So I don't think this is uncommon. I think the D.O.G.E. with the OIG in the future is going to aggressively go after that situation. Guys, just remember, if there's a child and somebody's supposed to get the benefits and the other person isn't, and you're fighting over who's going to get the benefits, make sure you make a choice, because otherwise you're going to show up on an OIG hot sheet. All right, next one. This one is February 11th from the OIG office of somebody who was prosecuted. All right, Miske Enterprise member sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for racketeering conspiracy. Let's take a look real quick. All right, February 11th, 2025, U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Hawaii. We're going to Honolulu, everybody. Strap in, be ready for some sun. All right, Acting United States Attorney Kenneth M. Sorensen. That's another good. Oh, that's some of these attorneys' names. They're just so good. Like, if you had like a British, secret agent that then double agent and became like a U.S. secret agent, like that would be their name. Kenneth M. Sorensen, yes, announced that John B. Stansel is the actual baddie in this, 37 of Waimanalo. My favorite names are Hawaiian names, and I butcher them every time, and I feel terrible about it. Waimanalo, somebody help me out with this one, was sentenced today in federal court by U.S. District Judge Derek K. Watson to 240 months. 240 months of imprisonment, the statutory maximum, followed by 3 years of supervised release for racketeering conspiracy. Stansel pled guilty on January 22nd, 2024, in the middle of jury selection, to conspiring to conduct and participate in the conduct of the affairs of racketeering enterprise, the Miske Enterprise, through racketeering activities that included participating in the commission of murder for hire and acts related to chemical weapons. So, in other words, just to be fair, this one was really bad. This was a very, very heavily prosecuted one. This is not the one who stole Granny's Social Security retirement benefits. This is a little next level on this one. Let's take a look real quick. In his plea agreement, Stansel admitted that he and other members of the Miske Enterprise participated in chemical weapon attacks on 2 Honolulu nightclubs in March 2017, carried out on the orders of co-defendant Michael J. Miske. Stansel provided the toxic chemical used in the attacks, a substance called chloropicrine. I'm not sure what the hell it is. I don't do that stuff, so I'm not super knowledgeable of what chemicals are used to harm people. But anyways, that's what they use. Chloropicrine. Don't become an evil genius, which can cause death, temporarily incapacitation, or permanent harm to humans. Stansel also admitted to joining a murder for hire conspiracy with Miske and other enterprise members. Miske put a murder contract out on an individual he believed was cooperating with law enforcement. Stansel then provided details of where the victim lived to another co-conspirator who agreed to carry out the murder until Miske eventually rescinded the contract. That's so sweet of Miske. You know, some people, they do good things, you know. People are epic bad. Stansel also admitted he served as the getaway driver for multiple assaults ordered by Miske and on behalf of Miske Enterprise. Miske Enterprise. This is like Batman level, like, you know, evilness right here. Miske Enterprise. According to other information provided to the court, Stansel also coordinated and participated in numerous robberies on behalf of Miske Enterprise. I want to know more. Let's keep reading. Stansel was charged. This is like a story right here. Stansel was charged alongside 12 other defendants. This was like this company's bigger than mine. Damn. This enterprise thing is not a big enterprise, but it's bigger than my law firm. Jeez. All of whom pled guilty except for Michael J. Miske, the boss, who proceeded to trial and was found guilty of racketeering, conspiracy, murder, and 11 other felony charges on July 18th, 2024. So if some of you believe that like Biden didn't have, you know, because remember, but you know, a lot of you were like, Biden didn't do anything against. His team did. OIG was working back then. 7 other members and associates of the Miske Enterprise pled guilty to various offenses and related cases. Quote, "You cannot run from the facts," Judge Watson advised Stansel during today's sentencing before reciting the litany of racketeering acts for which the court found Stansel responsible. Judge Watson found Stansel to be among the most culpable of those in the Miske Enterprise, describing him as one of Michael Miske's key confidants and lieutenants and a key player in terrorizing the citizens of this city and country for years. Judge Watson further noted that Stansel deserved an even higher prison sentence than the court was not permitted to impose by statute. Damn. So they tried to throw the book at this guy, but they couldn't because they were limited. Quote, "Today's sentence represents the culmination of years of tireless, skilled, and innovative work on the part of the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Hawaii and our outstanding law enforcement partners, the Honolulu Division of the FBI, blah, 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 blah. The court was deprived of the opportunity to sentence Michael Miske due to his untimely death." This is so spicy. This is a book right here. Somebody needs to make a movie. If nobody has bought the film rights to this one, you need to get on this. All right. The court was deprived of the opportunity to sentence Michael Miske, the baddie, due to his untimely death following his guilty verdicts at trial for racketeering and other crimes. But today's sentence, along with the 18 convictions we have secured against Miske henchmen and violent thugs, demonstrates our strong commitment to investigating, prosecuting, and convicting those who violate the law and endanger the safety and welfare of Hawaii's citizens. Let's today's sentence and the convictions in these cases serve as a stark reminder to those who operate criminal enterprises in Hawaii that we have the tools, expertise, and resolve to bring them to justice. I don't see how this is directly related to Social Security yet. Let's keep reading. Quote, "Mr. Stansel was a key member of the Miske Enterprise, actively participating in long-standing pattern of racketeering activity involving murder for hire. Oh, murder for hire. I've never seen it spelled like that. Robbery and use of chemical weapons," said FBI Honolulu Special Agent in Charge David Portner. "This sentencing reflects years of collaboration between the FBI Honolulu and our law enforcement partners." All right, where's the connection here? Mr. Stansel's racketeering charges reminds us that organized crime threatens yada yada. HSI is committed, blah blah blah. So where is this is just a general OIG, but it's from the SSA of Inspector General. I am not seeing the connection here unless that club was filled with a bunch of disabled people. I'm not seeing the gigaroo here. But I'm not seeing it. Let's go to the next one. Hold on. Oh, that is a spicy one. That's going to turn into a Batman movie. Let's see what we got here. Now I'm checking them. Now I'm like, hey, wait a minute. We got a Brazilian national pleads guilty to perjury. Okay. Here's one. This is February 13th, 2025. Another prosecution. Okay. All right. We got U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Massachusetts. A Colombian woman residing in Boston was arrested for identity theft offenses and stealing housing benefits. Lisa Maria Orovio Hernandez, 58, was indicted by a federal grand jury on one count of misuse of Social Security number, one count of making a false statement in an application for a United States passport, and one count of theft of government money, which is going to be your Social Security benefits. Orovio Hernandez appeared in federal court in Boston yesterday. According to court documents, Orovio Hernandez, a citizen of Colombia, applied for a United States passport and a Massachusetts registry of motor vehicles real ID using the name and other biographical information of another individual. This is one of Biden's immigrants right here. Additionally, Orovio Hernandez is alleged to have stolen approximately, $259,589 in Section 8 housing assistance benefits from October 2011 through January 2025, 259,000 from Section 8. Can you imagine how many people could have been housed with that? That is just mind-boggling. All right, the charge of misuse of Social Security number provides for a sentence of up to 5 years of an in prison. So 5 years prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of 250,000. The charge of making a false statement in an application for a United States passport provides for a sentence of up to 10 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of 250,000. That's interesting that Social Security would only get 5 years, whereas application for passport would get 10 years. That's interesting because you would think the Social Security Administration has just as much to lose. So that's interesting. The charge of theft of government money, I guess instead of Social Security benefits, it was Section 8, provides for a sentence of up to 10 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of 250,000 or twice the gross gain or loss, whichever is greater. I'm still blown away. Why is the Social Security prison time up to 5 years and that's it? I'm still surprised by that because everything else is looking like 10 years here. If convicted, the defendant will also be subject to deportation proceedings upon completion of any sentence imposed. Sentences are imposed by a federal district court judge based on the U.S. sentencing guidelines and statute which govern the determination of a sentence in a criminal case. United States Attorney Leah B. Foley, Matthew O'Brien, Special Agent in charge of U.S. Department of State's Diplomatic Security Services, Boston Field Office. There's Amy Connolly again, Special Agent in charge of Social Security Administration, Office of Inspector General. Blah, 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 blah. All right, there was this many people involved with this. This was one of Biden's immigrants right here. All right. To East Bay, and I'm not trying to say something mean about Biden. I'm just saying, during his period, there were a lot of immigrants coming in. You know what I mean? And quite a lot of them committed crimes. And remember, too, there were a lot of them that never got convicted, never got even arrested for a lot of those crimes. All right, so here we go. This one's a good one. This is a good one. All right. February 13th, 2025, 2 East Bay residents, one of whom was a bank teller, indicted on charges of cashing stolen U.S. Treasury checks. Let's check it out real quick. All right. Oakland federal grand jury has indicted Francesca Calagui. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. It's Calagui, 25, and Dondre Gray, 27, with conspiracy to commit bank fraud, and also charged Calagui with receipt of U.S. Treasury check with forged endorsement or signature. Very spicy. According to the indictment unsealed yesterday from around May 2022 through March 2023, Calagui and Gray, both of Emerville, California, conspired to obtain stolen U.S. Treasury checks, recruit others to fraudulently endorse or sign the stolen U.S. Treasury check, and give the checks to Calagui to cash for the dependent's personal benefit. At the time, Calagui was a part-time associate banker at J.P. Morgan Chase. JP, you got to find out who your peeps are. Come on. You need to be in the sheets and figure this out. The indictment describes text messages between Gray and Calagui discussing the ongoing scheme in which Gray stated, this is a quote, "I definitely don't want to scam with Chase since you work there." And Calagui responded, "I do not care if you scam us," laughing my ass off. Damn. That is some bank fraud with ego. Let me tell you, they got some id there. They got some. Gray allegedly explained how he operated the scheme using runners, individuals who get paid to enter a bank with a fraudulent check, cash it, and return the proceeds to the person who employed the runner. In all, the defendants are charged with devising and executing a scheme to cash at least 339 stolen U.S. Treasury checks, totaling more than $850,000. Damn. $850,000. That is a lot of money. That is a major, major amount of money. That is just surprising how many U.S. Treasury checks that they could get away with doing that on. Because imagine how many times you'd have to go into J.P. Morgan Chase, right? Imagine how many times you'd have to go in there with a gov check. Let's say it's 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. Imagine how many times so let's say that they were all $2,000 or whatever. How many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times you'd have to go into that bank, and how many checks you'd have to steal to hit 850,000 U.S. Treasury checks illegally deposited into J.P. Morgan Chase's bank. That's just you would have to have a business set up. You would have to you'd have to have machines. I'm just blown away. I'm blown away that they could do this. Acting United States Attorney Patrick D. Robbins, FBI acting special agent, and a bunch of other people, yada, yada. They always list a zillion people here. But bottom line is there were a bunch of people who were part of this. Office of Inspector General, SSA, OIG was part of it as well. Both defendants are charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit bank fraud under 18 U.S.C. Section 1349 and 5 counts of bank fraud under 18 U.S.C. Section 1344. Callaway is also charged with 5 counts of receipt of U.S. Treasury checks with forged endorsement or signature under 18 U.S.C. Section 510B. Callaway and Gray were arrested and made their initial appearances in federal district court yesterday. Defendants are next scheduled to appear before U.S. District Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Roger on April 3rd, 2025 for a status conference. He might actually show up in the news. You might be hearing Elon Musk bring him up because this is big money. $850,000. That's a job. Like if anybody, you sit back and think like, well, somebody just stole their granny's check. No, $850,000. That's a job. That was a job on top. That was their other job. You know how they always say, young people have to have more than one job? Well, these people clearly did have more than one job. And JP Morgan Chase was not the main job. All right. So bottom line here. All right. An indictment merely alleges that a crime has been committed, and all defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. If convicted, each defendant faces a maximum sentence, of 30 years in prison and a fine of $1 million on each charged account. Any sentence following conviction would be imposed by the court after consideration of the U.S. sentencing guidelines and the federal statute governing the imposition of a sentence, 18 U.S.C. Section 3553. So just to be clear, that is a very saucy, that's $850,000 stolen from the U.S. Treasury. Social Security Administration with OIG had to go ahead and investigate it. I'm pretty sure, at some point you might hear even Elon bring that one up because that's $850,000 away from the U.S. Treasury, some of which I'm sure, and a large chunk of it, otherwise the SSA wouldn't be in there, it was a result probably of disability benefits, retirement benefits, etc. All right. We got another one. This one hits close to home because he's Florida. We always want Florida to be part of things, okay? Even if they're horrific and terrible, we always want Florida to be part of the mix. We want to feel like we include Florida in things. Otherwise, Florida gets angry and does crazy shit. Let's get to it. Daytona Beach. Man sentenced to prison for theft of government money and aggravated identity theft. Let's check it out. February 18th, 2025. U.S. Attorney's Office, Middle District of Florida. Orlando, Florida. Oh, it's Orlando, Florida. It's my stomping ground. That's where my firm was started. I just get all butterflied up when I see this stuff. All right, this is good. U.S. District Judge John Antoon II has sentenced Richard Eugene Fidley, a good, strong Florida name, 63 years old of Daytona Beach. God damn, man, you're 63. Come on now. To 3 years and 9 months in federal. Well, they went for it. He didn't get the full 5, but 3 years and 9 months, they went for it. To 3 years and 9 months in federal prison for theft of government money and aggravated identity theft. As part of this sentence, Fidley must also pay restitution of the Social Security Administration, the Department of Agriculture. The Department of Agriculture? You stealing cows on me, bro? Come on now. And the victim of the identity theft. Finley entered a guilty plea on April 30th, 2024. According to the court documents, Finley obtained EG's identification card. They're not even giving out the name. Social Security card and birth certificate sometime in the 1990s. Damn, this is some farm fraud right here. This is farm fresh going back to the 90s. He then used EG's identity without EG's permission to fraudulently obtain various government benefits, including a Florida driver's license, Social Security benefits, and Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits. This case was investigated by the Social Security Administration, Office of Inspector General, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Office of Inspector General, Homeland Security Investigation, the U.S. Department of Labor, Office of Inspector General. It was prosecuted by Special Assistant United States Attorney Matthew Del Mastro. Damn. My goodness, Florida, you always shine in the crime sheets. I am proud of you, Florida. You just keep, you and Kentucky. I love you too. I do. I love both of you. Florida, Kentucky, that is just a good time. Finger looking good time, people. Let's get right to the next one. We have over here a word I have no idea how to pronounce. Thibodeau, man, sentenced for Social Security theft. Thibodeau. I'm not sure. Let's go into it. Let me know in the comments how to actually pronounce this. This is Eastern District of Louisiana. Oh, so there you go. That's why. Okay, we're talking like French influence and then a little bit of river love. All right. February 19th, 2025. New Orleans. Acting U.S. Attorney Michael M. Simpson announced that Nathaniel Hopkins Jr., that's important. If it's from Louisiana, you need a junior in here. Junior, all right, age 48, of Thibodaux, Louisiana, was sentenced on February 18th, 2025 to 3 years of probation. No, so he didn't get full prison time by United States District Judge Jay Zaney after previously pleading guilty to theft of government funds in violation of Title 18, United States Code Section 641. So this is going to be Social Security stuff. According to court documents, Hopkins' wife was authorized to receive Social Security Administration Title II retirement survivor insurance benefits from 2003 until her death in April 2014. From April 2014 to January 2024, 10 years this guy got away with it. Hopkins illegally received benefits designated for his wife totaling approximately $144,176.43. So he almost hit $150,000 in fraud. After failing to notify the SSA of his wife's death, he also accessed $3,200 in COVID-19 CARES Act stimulus funds from his deceased wife's bank account. He was real close to that $150,000. In addition to probation, Hopkins was ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $144,176.43 to the U.S. Social Security Administration and $3,200 to the U.S. Treasury, along with a $100 mandatory special assessment fee. Why is it only $100? Like, think about that. This guy did $150,000 worth of crime to the SSA and the Treasury only has a $100 mandatory special assessment fee. I mean, maybe it's low, maybe it's for everybody, whatever. But it just seems, dinky. $100 mandatory special assessment fee. I don't know that. I guess they're just charging for the stamping. I don't know. Acting U.S. Attorney Simpson praised the work of the Social Security Administration, Office of the Inspector General. The prosecution of this case is being handled by U.S. Attorney Edward J. Rivera of the Financial Crimes Unit. I would be interested to know what happened to the body. I know that sounds terrible, but I would be interested to know, because we've already gone through a claim which for 6 whole years, they had a person, they mummified him, left him on the bed, and then told the police to go into his room 6 years later. That is incredible. That is just mind-boggling, okay? All right, so with that said, I hope you understand these are the criminals that basically the types that they're going after. And these are the cases that have been coming down since D.O.G.E. has been created and putting, employees of D.O.G.E., Department of Government Efficiency, into the SSA. And now, of course, the SSA has their new actual individual, let's call it like it is. They've got their new commissioner who was heading up the fraud division, which is it's linear with Trump's thing. So I can understand the connection there. Who's now the new commissioner, the new president of the Social Security Administration. One thing that's interesting for me is that we still don't have at the SSA a full-fledged inspector general, which is very interesting. Now, I have some theories, I have some ideas as to why that is, but I don't want to say them yet until we get a little bit farther into this process, because normally you want to have a commissioner and you want to have an OIG that was put an inspector general that was put in by the president. If you wanted to control the Social Security Administration, which, just to be fair, the Social Security Administration is one of the most important administrations in the entire United States government. A lot of people don't think about that, but they are a massive tap into the U.S. Treasury. They also create Social Security numbers and human beings that weren't citizens and now are citizens. So, the power of the SSA is incredibly, incredibly massive and apparently ripe for fraud. So, bottom line is this. Let's talk about types of claims that they're going to be doing in the future once D.O.G.E. completes a lot of the situation. So types of claims in the future are those who are obviously over an age that basically doesn't make sense. So you're probably having some individuals claiming that somebody else is still alive when they're 94, 96, 97, 98, and they don't actually exist anymore. So I'm sure the SSA is taking a much closer look at that. Now, remember, they're supposed to be sending out a form that requires the person to respond back and say, yes, I'm alive. This is where I'm living. This is who I am, yada, yada, yada. But the bottom line, to be clear, is they need to do more auditing of that particular area. Another area that I see the SSA being far more aggressive with in the future are Social Security disability benefits and supplemental security income disability benefits when it comes to people working side jobs. As you know, the Biden presidency was not a good economy presidency. He was very anti-capitalism, very pro other nations kind of president. So the bottom line is a lot of people who are receiving disability benefits or supplemental security income benefits don't have enough money to make it through the month. And this is a culture problem created by, past President Biden, where these people are starving. They can't afford their food. They can't afford the rent. They need some sort of other job. But the problem with SSI benefits is that basically, just to be fair, the rules are so restrictive. How much you can have in the bank, $2,000, no more. How much can you work and earn? $65 plus $20 rule. If you earn too much, every of every $2 you earn, they take away $1. The rules are far too restrictive on these people, and they can't afford to live on their $900+ a month. So what's happening is I foresee an opportunity for vast amounts of fraud for people who are receiving disability benefits and doing small jobs, small side gigs, to be a huge future investigation area for the disabled. Now, this sucks for a lot of reasons. Number one, okay, the rules of disability are more built to find people disabled if ... they're unable to do full-time work. However, you're going to be seeing a lot of disabled people doing under the table jobs that are part-time work that are going to get them nabbed, and that's not good, because this is due to a culture from the economy being basically kind of destroyed. It was an anti-capitalism economy over the past couple of years. And the weird thing is, if you follow what Biden was doing, Biden was smart about this as he played his game. He was going ahead and manipulating oil, selling off vast amounts of our reserves, which manipulated our cost of living adjustment. He sold our own oil to some of our competing nations that keep trying to fight us in wars. And then all of a sudden, basically you get into 2024, the election year. He knew he had to get things rolling again, get things really bolstered. Go look up the stats on what happened with oil. He became the biggest exporter in history of American oil, which, just to clarify, that flew under the radar. None of these legacy news channels were really on top of that. A few of them hit it once, but they didn't do it day after day after day. That's because they knew Biden had to. He absolutely had to make the economy a better place. Now, you can blame COVID, and COVID was horrific and massive, and COVID is going to go well into Trump's entire, campaign and into the next president's campaign as well. COVID was trillions of dollars spent, and then some of it was never even spent, but there's a lot of fraud there too. But the bottom line is COVID was a huge thing. But what surprised me was that the American nation CEOs, especially at the supermarkets, were willing to take that much advantage of the U.S. citizens by jacking up their prices. Now, a lot of people say, well, Biden can't control them. The president of the United States has the power to control, through executive order, a lot of stuff. If he wants to go a direction, if he wants to push something this way or push something that way, a lot of people were like, he doesn't have the power, he doesn't have the this, he has to have Congress do that, or he doesn't control that. Bullshit. Okay. Which you're probably seeing now. This new president, Trump, technically an old president become new, is releasing executive orders like it's, he's throwing frisbees left and right. So, presidents have the ability to change the internal structure of the economy in the United States. They have the ability to change the structure of financials in other countries that the U.S. interacts with. Okay. So just to be fair, the economy is so important to the disabled. And a lot of people, like the disabled, don't really think of it that way. But when the soup cans got really expensive, when the rice and the cereal and the milk and the eggs, of course, are one of the worst, when they got really expensive, that was a problem. Now, I want to point out one other thing. There are a lot of billionaires, I'm not saying which ones, but you know which ones they are, who have bought up a lot of the farmland, well, pretty much all the billionaires at this point, in America that are American billionaires. You have to ask yourself why the billionaires decided to strangle the American people when it comes to the cost of food. Was that a wise choice on behalf of their actions? What happens going into the future when all these farms are bought up by these super wealthy people? You got to think about that, because when they have complete control over the wood production, complete control over the egg production, the pig production, the cow production, right? All that stuff. What control do you have as to what you need to be able to survive? I want you to think about that. All right, everybody, I will catch you a little bit later. Please have a wonderful, wonderful day. In about 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to go live. Put the phone into here. You know how this works. I answer questions 5 to 7 minutes per question at the next video. I will catch you at the next video shortly. Please remember to like. Please remember to subscribe. Please hit that like button. It looks a little lonely right there. Also, head over to Google and type in Disability Resolution Law Firm. Again, Disability Resolution Law Firm. I work there. I work with the low income. I work with the homeless to get them their disability benefits. I'm the most viewed and subscribed to disability attorney in America. Please consider putting some stars up there if you like the videos. Now, also, I go live on Mondays and Thursdays. However, sometimes I fall asleep because I work really late into the night, and then I can't do the videos where I go live to answer questions for free. I'm doing that instead of on Thursday, today, Saturday. Now, with that said, if you need a private session, a 1-hour session, there's a mini contract below where you can go ahead and get a 1 hour where I put you on my calendar docket and we go ahead and go through whatever issues, claims, timelines that you need to figure out how to fix something with your Social Security situation. I'll catch you a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you in about 10 to 15 minutes to answer questions for free. Please stay safe. Enjoy your holiday. Enjoy your weekend. And bottom line is stay warm. It is so cold out. I will catch you later, and I'll see you soon. Thanks so much. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.